Edit.
4, 3, 2, 1.
The cash make my ass bounce back.
Spread it like.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Jumping on into the video, I'm getting started by first washing my beauty blender, and for this video I'm going to be using the Beauty Blender Solid Cleanser Bar. I love this stuff. You can find it at Sephora for about 16 bucks, and the solid cleanser usually lasts me about a month. I wash my brushes about once a month, but I wash my beauty blenders after each and every single use. So as you can see, I get quite a lot of use out of the solid cleanser. I'm starting off by soaking my beauty blender and basically getting it to twice the size that it usually is. I am rubbing my beauty blender into the solid cleanser bar doing circle motions. It's pretty basic. You want to do this until all of the makeup is out. I do this about 2 to 3 times before my beauty blender is completely clean. Now, once you're done getting all of that makeup out of your beauty blender, you just want to make sure that you squeeze out as much water as possible, leaving the beauty blender as damp as possible. And then you want to go ahead and set the beauty blender down on something. The container that the beauty blender actually came in is the best thing to let it dry on. If you leave it laying on things, all of the water and that moisture just causes bacteria. So as you can see, I'm soaking the beauty blender in a lot of water before I dip it into that solid cleanser. When you let your beauty blender sit for a couple of weeks like I do, they get really stiff. So if you have that stiffness, it's not really going to clean it as best as it would as if it were really soaked with water. When you're done with that, you just want to make sure that you're rubbing it into the cleanser, doing circle motions. You want to be really careful when you're cleaning it inside of that cleanser jar, because I've noticed that it leaves my beauty blender like missing spots, or it just rips it a little. So if you take the bar out of that tin, it actually works a lot better. Mine was actually brand new, so it was to the top. It didn't really make a difference, but if you are at the end of your jar, you just want to make sure that you take your jar out. Now I'm cleaning my baby beauty blenders. These are such a hassle to clean because they're so small and they like slip out of your hands so much. So again, just circle motions. You want to rub it into the bar as much as possible. You want to get out all of that makeup and all of that junk. I am like excessively rubbing my baby beauty blenders into the jar because I've let them sit with makeup on, and that's always such a bad idea because the makeup just like sticks in there and then it makes it impossible for you to clean them. Once you're done, you just want to make sure that you're squeezing out as much water as possible and leaving them as damp as possible. Moving on to my fluffy brushes, I'm just going to soak my brush first, and then I'm going to dip it into the bar, and then I'm going to get the rest of the makeup off on my hand, and I just want to rinse it, make sure that all of the water is out, so I'm going to give it a couple of taps. So my foundation and my contour brushes always require just a little bit more work. I usually do this process 2 times on these brushes just to make sure that all of the makeup is off. But again, I'm just going to wet my brush, I'm going to dip it into the bar, and then I'm using all of the little ruffles on my hands. And I'm also using my fingertips just to get in all of the nooks and crannies and just to make sure that it's really clean. So this is actually the first time that I'm doing this to my contour brush, and you can already see that my brush is so clean, and it's always such a fast process. I also like taking a napkin at the end of the process and brushing my brush through it just a couple of times to make sure that there is no excess makeup on it. And then again, I like to tap my brush out, making sure that no water is stuck inside of the bristles, because if you leave water stuck inside of the bristles, it can actually break up that glue, and then that's why you have so much hair falling out of your brushes. So you just want to make sure that your brushes are somewhat dry before you leave them out to dry. Here I am cleaning a MAC brush of mine, so I do want to let you guys know that this Beauty Blender Solid Cleanser is safe for all types of brushes. I have a bunch of different brushes and it has never damaged any of my brushes, so it's definitely safe for all types. So if you're drying off your brush and you notice that you still have some soap trapped in there, you want to go ahead and re-rinse your brush. Again, you don't want to leave any soap or any water left in the brush. It can damage your brush so much. And I know how expensive brushes are, so you want to make sure that you're taking really good care of them, and that includes cleaning them as well. So these setting brushes are so important for me to have clean. I know that if I don't clean my brush in a really long time, my skin starts to break out so much because of the fact that I'm putting a dirty brush on my face. So when I'm washing this brush, I make sure that this brush is seriously so clean before I'm done with it. Now we are on to these smaller brushes. I'm always a lot more careful with these brushes just because it's so easy for the hairs to fall out of these brushes. I have a majority of Sonia Kashuk brushes. They're really good brushes, and every single time that I wash them, not a lot of hairs fall out. I guess I've just taken really good care of them. This is such a repetitive process, but again, you just want to make sure that you're wetting your brush before you dip it into the solid cleanser. Then you want to make sure that you are rubbing your fingers through the brush just to make sure that all of the makeup is out of the bristles. And then once you're done with that, you just want to rinse it again and make sure that all of the water is out of the brush. The double-sided brushes I treat a little bit differently just because I don't want to get any water in the brush. So I just make sure that I'm extra careful with these brushes. I know that a lot of these double-sided brushes usually come in makeup palettes. I think I got this one off of the Naked palette. So when I wash these brushes, I just make sure that I do one side at a time. I try to get off as much water as possible out of that brush, and then I will continue to do the opposite side. But you never want to do both sides at a time, because if you get water into the brush, it's just going to stay in there and it's going to break up the glue, and before you know it, rest in peace to your brush. And there you have it, an extremely clean brush, and this process took me about half an hour, which is really, really fast. As you can see, there is no makeup on the ends of these brushes, which always makes me so happy. And then my cleanser bar, as you can see, actually has a lot of soap still left in it. So this will actually last me about 2 more weeks. So that always makes me really happy. Last but not least, you want to make sure that you are washing the jars that your brushes also sit in as well, because if there's bacteria in those jars and there's bacteria on your brushes. So I'm just using some Dawn and washing each and every single jar that my brushes are sitting in, just to make sure that everything that my brushes touch are clean. So there you have it. My brushes are clean. To let them dry off, I just like to rub them in a clean towel, and then I usually let them sit on the side of my desk just to make sure that they're not leaning on anything.